Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do reading for Libra energy. And we had a bunch of cards flip in the middle of the deck, so we're going to take those. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as like a high vibe Libra energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. We can all would maybe like to do things a little differently in our life, but that can represent the top row. The bottom row can represent our comfort zone. You know, if we were to do things differently in the Ten of Wands, we'd maybe have to move away from some other things. And over here we have the King of Wands and the Two of Cups. There could be other people that would like us to be in relationship with them. Our own shadow nature would like us to be more aligned with our shadowy nature. So over here we have the King of Wands, which is about the self, and we have the Page of Cups, which can represent our more emotionally immature nature. There could be a part that people are struggling with where maybe they did indulge their more immature nature or tried to control other people or kind of more indulging themselves in a more emotionally immature nature or attracted to people who are more immature in a way. And so some high vibe people, the Ten of Wands and Sagittarius energy is kind of wrapping your brain around this game of life. It's been, we could all keep repeating old patterns, living our life the way we live it. But high vibe energy is being more independent of our more immature nature, codependent nature, lustful, greedy, lazy nature, because we have a dream and we want to bring a dream into reality. But we have to temper, in the Strength card, our egoic nature, which can be indulging other people, indulging ourselves. The Ten of Wands can represent our more, again, kind of immature nature. We might know other people who might be more immature and they might feel overwhelmed, and we've been trying to offer them love and encouragement. But then with the Virgo Hermit there, which can talk about, kind of doing some inner work to deal with the truth of the situation. There might be people in our life who would like to move forward with us in work and friendships or relationships, but they might never temper their ego and do that inner work, and we can be moving forward with people and we kind of see that though I've been offering you love and encouragement, and the pages can represent that you have good intentions, you're not trying to manipulate or control someone, but they seem to have a problem and they keep kind of maybe seeming overwhelmed, seeming to take more immature action, more out of maybe pride or ego, stubbornness, and then other people see the truth of it, or you see the truth of it. And there's a part of us that, if you're a loving and encouraging person, there's a part of you that would like to keep doing that, but, there comes a time where people have to do this inner work within themselves. And are they even motivated, kind of in their fire sign energy of self, to even do that inner work? And if they keep repeating old patterns, kind of indulging their more immature nature. So with this being the reason why the top row reading came out, it's also the reason why the top row reason came out. And we could harness our fire sign energy and our emotional nature in a more high vibrational, hopeful, believing, inspired by love nature. And some other people keep indulging their more immature nature. And if they're not willing to deal with the truth and do some of this inner work to figure out why they keep doing what they do, they're going to keep doing what they do. And if we would like them to take a leap of faith to work together with us in a more self-aware, insightful, stable, grounded, more balanced way, being motivated and inspired to put in work and effort from love, or that they love their job or work through their fears or their insecurity or their pride or their ego or whatever it is, to work together with us. And if we keep seeing they're not willing to do that, the high vibe people in their life are curious to know why, And so it's like, why don't you? You seem and give the impression that you want to move forward, but then nothing ever moves forward. You seem to lack self-insight or self-awareness of kind of what manipulates you. And though I could want to have you keep moving forward with me, how many times can I offer love and encouragement to support to someone who doesn't use that environment to do this inner work, to take that leap of faith to work together with me in that way? And it's kind of like, my dreams can only come into reality with people who are kind of motivated and inspired to work together with me cooperatively in a more just and fair, loving way. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And some people kind of have a problem with that. They are used to indulging their more immature nature, and then they think that's just and fair. And then they think other people should hide the truth and just keep indulging them. Well, people can do that for a long time in workplaces, friendships, and relationships. But eventually, the Eight of Pentacles talks about looking to the future. How many times can we keep repeating this pattern and we kind of like stay stuck there? It never moves forward. To get to the Eight of Pentacles, we had to be in the Seven of Pentacles, which is investing in something that everybody could have wanted to invest in for their different reasons. But then there comes a time where we have to work through some issues, and everybody has to work through some issues to add the one pentacle to the Seven of Pentacles to be the Eight of Pentacles, where we've done this stage long enough. It's now time to move forward, looking to the future, like not repeating some of these old patterns. And eventually some people get to be where I can't ignore the truth anymore. They keep repeating these old patterns. Apparently that is their truth. That is what kind of drives and motivates them. And it's not putting in work and effort to move things forward. So eventually some other people decide, the Page of Cups, like, I wish you peace. I hope it works out for you. But I've kind of seen the truth that you either don't want to put in work and effort here, you don't want to invest in this. And, the Wands can be about communication. The Page of Cups can be a gesture that people make to other people. A friendly gesture, Of course, if it's a workplace, it might have been that people offered them a job, but otherwise in the world, it's just trying to get to know people. And if some people keep kind of turning their back, some people, if it's more getting to know some people, and it's just been kind of more small, friendly gestures, some people might decide, I don't know, either they could realize I need to be more overt, to make my point clear that I would like to work with you and get to know you better. And some because they could decide, I might want to take a leap of faith with you, but maybe I'll just go with the flow and see how things go, and we'll continue to know each other, work together, whatever the case might be, and just see how things will go. But I kind of think if it's more of like a workplace situation, then some people, they're either just making an offer to someone to see how things will go, or they already made an offer to someone and they're trying to figure out if they're going to keep working with them or not. Okay. Now, let's go look at what the shadowy energy could be about in a situation like that, of those various situations. We have the Hangman. We could have all moved forward in things. Say an employer needed a new employee, someone was looking for a job, everybody felt stuck, they move forward in something new. Everybody could have been in one relationship or friendship and they felt stuck, and then people are looking to get in different friendships and relationships. And as we're doing that, we can want to get to know people, but we temper our ego. We might really be kind of attracted to them or whatever, but, don't have learned lessons in the past that I don't want to jump into a relationship. I'm going to temper myself to get to know them. And when I get clear kind of more about what their truth is, what kind of drives and motivates them, if they're more about themselves, more materialistic, more immature, more codependent, more bossy, more controlling, more manipulative, then those people that I could be dealing with, I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. I know I don't enjoy that, and I'm going to wish those people peace, and I'm going to focus more of my attention on the people in the workplace, in my community, in my family, whatever, that seem to work together with me in a more self-aware, stable, grounded, just and fair way. Because high vibe energy is treating other people the way you like to be treated. And we can all know people, and we might know some people who we think are kind of immature, kind of bossy or controlling. And yeah, we learn to temper our ego about that. We kind of keep our distance from those people. We might give it a little thought about why they are the way they are, but it's really not our issue to deal with. If you acted in high vibe energy where you treated people in a just and fair way, you were authentic, you were encouraging, aspiring to get to know and work together with people, and they seem to have a problem with that. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. Would I have liked us all to work together more cooperatively? Yes, but if that's not the case, that's not the case. I'm going to focus on my job if it's a work thing. Still stay open, because we don't really know what some people could be going through in their life. And, the fact can be that some people act that way in order to try to manipulate and control people. So it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I will extend grace, that I don't really know what people could be dealing with in their life. And I'm just gonna keep doing my thing, keep acting in a way that makes me feel proud of myself in a just and fair way. And, if they work out what's going on with them that could make them act that way, fine. If not, I'm okay either way. Okay. Now, down here in the bottom row, we have the Star card. And then we have a card not showing itself, which is the Two of Cups. And then we have the Nine of Wands, the Five of Wands, the Empress, the Hierophant, the Page of Pentacles, and the Ten of Cups. Living in a world of duality, there are people in the world who, they are tempered in their ego. They've worked through some issues within themselves to know and not even be inspired to indulge their more immature nature. It's like I've outgrown certain stages of life. And some people are more immature. Some people are more bossy, controlling, manipulative, stubborn, whatever. Okay, I accept that people are like that. I'm not going to take it personally and get my ego. Everybody is somewhere on the journey of learning lessons in life. And you can meet people, you could be 45, 55, 65, and you can meet people who are like immature junior highs people. They still have a lot of life lessons to learn, right? So we just need to see the truth of it, listen to our intuition, all we can do is try to work together with people in a just and fair and authentic way. Leave them in their free will to live life the way they want to live it. Don't get up in your ego about it, and move on. So, in the shadowy energy, there are some people who aren't aligned with their more enlightened nature. You know, they still got some lessons to learn. They might want to move forward in new friendships, relationships, or jobs, but they might be unaware. You know, because we either are illuminated to the truth, which high vibe Leo is about being illuminated to the truth of your egoic, shadowy nature, and you've learned lessons in life, and instead of indulging that way of being, you've put in work and effort to like grow and mature yourself. And some people haven't. And we can all choose to be in denial of the truth too. And there could be some people in the world that are still more caught up in themselves. Shadowy Aquarius, shadowy Pisces, that anyone can harness, that I don't want to look at life from any other perspective. I could think it should be all about me. Again, I indulge my more immature nature. Might have had people in their life growing up and other relationships they've been in where other people kind of have indulged them in their more immature nature, and they think other people should indulge them in their more immature nature. And, you know, they're just reject aligning in their free will with their more enlightened, loving nature. And that's just not their truth. You know, and when we're in our shadowy energy, you know, we want these things of the world, have certain status, image, relationships, friendships, success in our life, just like high vibe people do. But they could be more defensive and more competitive and have inner conflict about being more just and fair or acting with character and integrity. The Empress in high vibe is about love, but in shadowy energy, it can be more about, I want to be indulged. I want to be the more privileged, pampered person in a relationship. And some people could think they deserve that, maybe in the Hierophant, because they have a certain status or image, social clout, money, status, looks, whatever they got going on, right? So the Empress energy is Libra-Taurus energy. The Hierophant is Taurus energy. And then the Page of Pentacles can represent all three of the earth signs: Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. You know, we can all view life based on what we view as victorious and successful. And if we're more competitive in the world and we think it's just and fair to be more about ourselves or more driven and motivated by these things of the world, thinking I'll be happy if I indulge in these things, or I make my life about having these things, or I have a certain status or image, you know, they wouldn't do it probably if that wasn't what they really valued, or they're sure that will make them happy, or them being indulged in a relationship. It has to be, if they're indulged in a relationship, then they think they'd be happy, right? If it's more my way or the highway. And so some people are quite immature. And in their earth sign nature of self, they could be all in aligning with their more worldly view of life. The other people, they have their worldly nature, but what they view as victorious and successful is having a balance. You know, sure, kind of what I like in a way to have it be all about myself, but I don't want it to just be about me. You know, I don't want someone to indulge me if they don't really love me. You know, I want to be in relationships with people who are inspired to work together with me because they love me. And if I was an employer, I want people to work here because they love doing their job and they're self-motivated to want to do their job, right? And high vibe people are willing to put in work and effort, being authentic, not operating from their more defensive, egoic nature, to be more authentic with people in a relationship. I want to not feel defensive in a relationship with people who are kind of competitive. If you've ever been in a relationship with someone who's more competitive, it can always be like them trying to build their self-esteem off of, well, I do this better than you, and blah, blah. It's like we all do different things kind of better than other people. Why do just do what you do and be proud of yourself that you can contribute this and you can do that and you are able to do that. And I appreciate that. But some people, like if they almost do anything, they want to be acknowledged for it. And it's like, that can be annoying. Or they're just competitive. And some people could have been in a relationship with someone who kind of was more tempered and balanced and insightful and motivated and inspired by love. But when they could have gotten in the relationship, they could have felt more overwhelmed. And we can all get in relationships because we have all felt more overwhelmed. But some people were hiding that they're still defensive. They still have inner conflict about maybe what they want to give birth to next. Sometimes we get in these more mismatched relationships where some people are more about looking like a shining star in the world, and it is more about getting in a relationship with someone for a certain status or image. Or if they're going to be in a relationship with someone, they could like it to be a more codependent relationship where they are viewed as the more victorious, successful, shining star in the world, and then they can get in their competitive energy. They could get in a relationship with someone who is motivated and inspired by these things of the world also, could put a lot of work and effort to try to bring a dream into reality. They could have thought, oh, that's great. I like to be in relationships with people who put a lot of work and effort to kind of bring that dream into reality that is just and fair and stable and abundant and loving. But some people kind of get in their competitive energy with those people because they might be someone who does operate more from their ego. They might have status and image or social clout or money or something. And they view themselves as being maybe a just, fair, loving person. But when you're in a relationship with someone who that isn't what drives and motivates them as much, do they want stability and security and a loving, balanced relationship? Yes. But it's not more about the ego and the image. And sometimes in the Leo energy, also represented by the sun, it can kind of, when one person is more motivated, inspired, putting in work and effort, enjoys their job if it's a job, is more authentic and inspiring and authentic. High vibe Leo is being authentic, because otherwise you're kind of operating from shadowy energy, which is ego. It kind of can illuminate that some people are kind of defensive to really being more just and fair and authentic and loving, and high vibe Taurus really walking the talk. But in a lot of ways, they can seem like that type of person and are that type of person, but people can just get in their competitive energy. And, when you see someone who seems like, just even say someone goes for walks and you don't go for walks, or anything that anybody could do. We all have our shadow nature. We can all get a little jealous and envious and competitive. And we have the free will to decide, you know what? I don't like that it's kind of bringing up competitive energy in me. why not be a student of life to figure out why this does bother me, why it does get me in my ego? And it's true that some people have certain ways of being. We could admire some people that are maybe just much more outgoing and gregarious than we could be. Well, I can't change my whole way of being in life, but I could work through why that bothers me so that I don't let it bother me so much, that I just accept we've all been kind of given our box of crayons to work with, our own ways of being, our own issues that we struggle with, and other people might have their own issues that they struggle with. And I don't want to operate more from ego. I want to expand my perception of myself and the world and how I view myself and how I view others, look at life from a higher perspective, work through my defensiveness or my competitive energy to, I have what I have to work with, and it might not be as great and as grand as some other people, and I can't make myself to a degree, more smarter. I got to work with what I got to work with. I can't make myself look different to a degree than what I look, and we have to work through all of that ego issue to just be enlightened to the truth that everybody's got their issues, everybody's got their good qualities, their maybe less than good qualities. I have my good qualities, my less than good qualities, and I'm not going to stay in my ego about it. And I accept that some people are blessed with a lot of things, um, that it could seem like they've just really got it going on. Well, that person has their own issues, they're just a human being. And so long as they act in a just and fair and kind way, I don't want to discriminate against someone, because I could think, well, why would they even want to hang out with me or talk to me? Well, that's my own inner conflict about kind of loving and believing in myself. To believe that I have something to offer and, I can get along with these people. It just kind of, all I can do is be authentically myself, treat people the way I like to be treated, be self aware, insightful, act in a stable, grounded, mature way, and let everybody else do what they do. But initially, people could be kind of intimidated by people who seem to have a certain status or image or attractiveness or whatever they got going on, right? And some people stay in that energy and they kind of want to move away from those people instead of working through their issues, because we can all just stay in denial of the truth. If I'm around someone who I like to think of myself as a certain type of person, but then I get around some people and it kind of causes me some inner conflict, because it might kind of highlight that I do operate more from pride and ego, or I am kind of full of myself, or I am more materialistic, or I am more superficial and shallow. I can either want to learn lessons from that and look at life differently, or I just want to move away from those people, because then I can just hang out with the people who are like me and we can all stay in denial of the truth. And that could be one way of looking at it. Another thing could be some people are more caught up in the world and it is more about looking like a shining star, and that is the most important thing. And they like to present themselves as these pillars of society and that they're these just and fair and loving and encouraging people. But they don't maybe adhere to a higher truth and justice. They might try to appear that they do, but it could be more about conforming to the world. And you have to act like this and you have to dress like this and you kind of hang out with these people and not those people. And then again, when people who are like that could get around someone who could be stable, grounded, blah, 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 have a lot of the same things that they have in the world, but they do kind of look at life from a higher perspective. They are less in their ego, less about their image and their status. Again, other people could kind of find that overwhelming, because it makes kind of challenges their belief system about themselves and how they view the world. And they really could kind of be defensive to change or being a student of life or getting out of their ego or seeing the truth that they are a little bit more egoic or, something kind of shadowy. And if they're kind of in these more mismatched relationships, the high vibe people just wanted to offer love and encouragement to people and was hoping everybody would work through any inner conflict they had to see that we're all kind of working for the same thing, aren't we? Don't we have a common goal? But some people are just defensive to it because it does require them to look at life differently, and they don't maybe want to look at life differently. They like the way they live their life, they like their perspective in life, and they just rather get rid of the people who challenge that viewpoint. And other people kind of welcome it. I might have, I never really looked at life that way, or you do seem kind of different. You seem to be more, you could act this way, but because you could have some of those same things too. But you seem to be more inspired to be more tempered in your ego, less stubborn or less full of yourself. You seem to have kind of been enlightened to some truths that we might not have been enlightened to, and that we don't want to see the truth of. And you might be a loving and encouraging and supportive person, but in Virgo it can be, I don't want to see the truth that you've acknowledged, probably about yourself, within yourself, your own shadowy energy. I don't want to see the truth of it. I might be overwhelmed, and I might be attracted to you, but I don't want to see the truth. Because I might have grown up in families or have friends and whatever that live life a certain way, view life a certain way. And if I were to live my life differently, because when one person in a dynamic changes, they heal, they grow, they mature, they get out of their being more focused in the world or about themselves or their ego or whatever it is they indulge in. When one person in a dynamic changes, it impacts the whole dynamic, because it's kind of like we used to toss the ball back and forth together metaphorically in how we got along in relationships, and I act this way, you act that way, if I do this then you do that. And when someone has viewed life differently and kind of expanded their perception of themselves in the world, is what High Vibe Hangman talks about. I've kind of looked at life differently. I kind of looked at life from a higher perspective, high vibe, Aquarius energy. I could have been living my life a certain way, and I was really trying to move some things forward, and I felt kind of stuck, and I didn't know why I felt stuck, and some things, which I might not even know what it was, but for some reason I was kind of feeling defensive, and could have felt like people were kind of fighting with me or trying to manipulate me or something. That's what the Five of Wands can talk about. And I just want to work together in a just and fair and loving way and, keep kind of growing to my full potential. I don't want to stay stuck in a cycle. And if my intuition is telling me that I'm kind of ready to go to that next phase of life, well, where I invest in my own unique talent, skills, or interests, there can be other people who don't like that because you're kind of stepping out of their comfort zone. And they wanted to do this, but you've kind of looked at life differently somehow during the course of a job, a friendship, a relationship. And you're kind of inspired to move forward in life a little differently. And they have inner conflict about that because change, the fives talk about change. That's always scary. And they might want you to stay, if it's a job, a friendship, a relationship, with them, but you kind of feel like, I feel like I'm going to be stuck. Like, you create the illusion you're willing to give birth to something new, but you're really not. Nothing ever moves forward in life differently. The tens can talk about completing a cycle where you, and same way with the Ten of Pentacles, that when we've kind of lived our life at a certain phase of life, just like we did age 15, 18, 21, 25, if we keep trying to live our life at that phase of life, even though when we entered it, we could have really been inspired by it, we loved it, it was like a dream come true. But then we heal and we grow and mature ourselves, we learn things about ourselves, we work through issues that maybe used to manipulate us back here that we didn't even realize. And then as time goes by, we're not the same person. And we could know that the reason we'd keep repeating that certain cycle of life might be more of fear of stepping out of our comfort zone, being more authentically ourselves. And so sometimes that's when things can have a problem in a relationship, is because one person did work through some issues, and some of the things that used to overwhelm them or drive and really motivate them at one time, say you just like drinking a lot, and that was something you had in common with people. And then you kind of could realize that, there's things I want to have occur in my life. And if I keep drinking a lot, for example, I might not be motivated to put in work and effort towards some of those other things that I want to put work and effort into. And I also might start having inner conflict about that I do drink a lot, and I'm kind of inspired. I don't want it to get a hold of me and where that's the driving factor in my life, or think it's the answer to my problems, because it's not. And it maybe has just caused more problems in my life. It's all those kind of things. And then some people kind of decide to temper themselves because there is something they want to, a way of viewing themselves, things they want to invest in, other things they want to invest in. And when we're going to do that and live our life differently, some other people don't want us to. And the whole thing is, we have our dualistic nature. There's different people in the world that we can choose to align with. Some of those people are people who are more aligned with our loving, hopeful, believing nature. They're encouraging, they're supportive. They're not trying to manipulate us and control us. They're not maybe more competitive or egoic or materialistic or immature or defensive. And then we have the people in the world that if we did want to align with some people, we could. But it might be more of our fear of giving birth to something new. So we want to kind of stay in our comfort zone even though we feel stuck. And we do keep repeating an old pattern. And some people right now could be dealing with that. Things could look really good in their life. They could have a job, friendship, a relationship, that by worldly standards, it all looks good. It kind of looks like they got it going on. But, what if you have a job where you don't feel there's any way for you to progress forward? And you could love the job, love the people, but I can only learn so much here. There's no way for me to kind of grow and kind of take on more responsibilities. And I would like to do that. So sometimes, even though we have inner conflict about it, and I could kind of hate to leave one job to go do something else, if I just feel limited and restricted here, I might do that. If I'm in friendships or relationships with people who want to keep repeating an old pattern, some of the people could like a more codependent relationship where you stay more codependent on me. You don't you can heal and grow and mature yourself some, so long as it works for me and it's good for my ego and my image or my status, or you keep deferring to me like I am the authority figure in your life, but I like you being more codependent on me. But as you work through some of your issues, you kind of work through some of those issues, you're not the same person, then some of those people don't want to be your friend anymore because you're not more codependent on them and they like that type of relationship dynamic. And if you have learned to like love yourself and look at life differently, then they want to go find someone else to get in a relationship with to kind of repeat that pattern all over with. And then they're always kind of defensive in the relationship because if they've come to realize that they have things that manipulate them that they don't want to become independent of, which could just be I like more codependent, imbalanced relationships, they're always defensive and have a lot of inner conflict because it's like maybe being a loving and encouraging person in people's life, but they want them to stay more codependent. You know, I don't want you acting in immature ways or whatever. You know, I have a certain image and status to maintain. So I want you to work through any issues you might have to work together with me. But then I have this way of viewing life that I like, makes me stay in my comfort zone. And I really could refuse to look at life any differently. Well, that's kind of shadowy and being more about yourself, right? If you're going to work together with other people, they have their dreams and aspirations too. And some people, that can be a shadowy King of Wands that anyone can harness because that I view as Aries energy, and Aries energy is about the self. Some people have gotten over being more about themselves and they have learned to work together with people more cooperatively, but other people haven't. And that's why they like more codependent relationships. I'll be like the parent, you be like the child, male or female. Or I'm the boss, or I am the privileged person in this relationship. You should have inner conflict about wanting to give birth to anything else or looking at life any differently than how I look at life. And for some, that's their idea of the dream relationship. Even though they have some fears and insecurities when they're in the relationship because they know they kind of create the illusion they're willing to give birth to something new, but they're really not. And again, they could have people in their life that they're more codependent on. It could be a friend group, it could be their original family. Like, I want to get in a relationship with you, but these people take priority in my life. And if any of those people at some future date say, I don't know, I don't like these people you're in a relationship with, I don't think you should keep working with them, that's when these people are like, oh, sorry, bye, but I'm more codependent on these people in my life. You know, sorry if I married you and created a family with you. If the people who are my primary foundation in my life that I have not become independent of, that I'm codependent on, and if they tell me they have a problem with it, sorry, I'm going to align with them. It's like, okay. And all of those things can be overwhelming. Or if you start to realize people are more competitive, more self-indulgent, more materialistic, more immature, all those things, eventually some people are overwhelmed and they distance themselves from those people. They probably did offer them truth and love and encouragement to try to look at life differently, work through some of their fears or insecurities. And if those people weren't, eventually they couldn't keep defending kind of a way of living life and viewing life and a philosophy of life that wasn't aligned with their truth. And it could seem a little more shadowy where people are more bossy and controlling and manipulative than other people would realize, because some people are very good at it. It's very subtle. Some people are more bossy and controlling and other people don't really know that. You know, if you're kind of not indulging them, maybe more in their ego because of their fear or insecurities, you know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to leave. And then we take this time if we don't want to repeat that pattern, we take this time to go within to figure out why we could be tempted by those things. And in our worldly nature, we all want these things of the world. You know, we want to be in stable ground. We want to be in a relationship with people, you know, friendships, romantic relationships. We want to, if we're in the employment field, we're looking for jobs. But I don't want to repeat that pattern. I need to be enlightened to the truth. I need to work through this. So they do that inner work to figure out what could have drawn and attracted me to get in it, what could have kept me in it, what truths did I not want to see. And it could be all these things that maybe I was more overwhelmed and I kind of got in a relationship more because I was in codependent energy. I could have been defensive and felt wounded. I maybe didn't listen to my intuition. My intuition could have been telling me, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think you're on the same page, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't listen to it. Got in it anyway. Could have had hope for the best. Everybody could have had hope for the best. But then as time goes by, you just kind of realize that kind of what drives and motivates you, if you like a more codependent, a more immature, a more authentic, a more inspiring, if you want to make your life more about the world or work or indulgence, or if you want to put in work and effort to work through your fears and insecurities because you don't like them manipulating you, and together you do that, you know, who's who, you know. And once some high vibe people have worked through that and they've done that inner work, they've kind of seen the truth of, it's kind of like learning the lesson. That's what high vibe Virgo is about. I want to learn the lesson I was meant to learn from that phase of life because I don't want to repeat it. And we will all repeat a certain phase of life until we have learned the lesson we were meant to learn from it. And I don't want to get in a relationship more because I'm overwhelmed. So if that's the case, I need to work through why I might be overwhelmed. I might feel stuck. Well, I need to work through my feeling stuck. I might be defensive. I might, I just need to work through all of these things so that when I have, and I view high vibe Leo as giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you, to feel more stable and grounded within yourself, to learn to love yourself. And then you're ready to go on that new journey in the Fool card. And then you start investing in being willing to, if it's to go get a new job, to go get a new job. If it's to try to go invest in things you like to spend your time and energy and effort into, and invite other people to go with you, maybe meet some people there. But maintaining, in high vibe Libra, maintaining balance within yourself as you do it, so you don't get tipped out of balance where you're indulging kind of poor behavior in yourself or others. As you're moving forward, you could have other people that want to come with you. And again, we can offer love and encouragement to people. They could be in our family. They could be our adult children. They could be our parents. Who knows who it is. For everyone, it could be different. And we can do that for a while. But then, again, people have to be motivated within themselves to take over that role within themselves. And there's some people who don't want to. Well, no, I like to put out my cup for people to fill up my cup of love to make me feel better. It's like, you have to learn to love yourself. I am not the answer to your problems. I can only be a loving and encouraging, supportive environment for you to do that work within yourself. And just like in workplaces where people are loving and encouraging, and relationships and friendships where people are, some people are like, well, that's not how I view life. That's not my truth. I think people should kind of indulge me. I'm used to people indulging me. And it's like, well, I will maybe indulge you for a period of time to provide, to feel, you know, I want to feel like I did what I could, but I can't do everything. And eventually, that's why the more high vibrational people leave, because the other people really do want them to do everything. I'm defensive to change. I'm defensive to seeing where I need to maybe look at life differently and where I maybe need to become more independent of some way of viewing life. Because Taurus can be, again, about our view of life and what we think is just and fair. And it's like, well, you can think that's just and fair all you want, but there might be some other people who don't. And you could like people to indulge you and make it all about you or make it all about something that you want to make it about, but that's not everyone else's truth. And eventually we kind of see that if they're not willing to do this work within themselves, it is kind of like, they are standing up and defending their viewpoint. And sometimes going through that life experience was to get us to stand up for our more authentic, loving nature and what we stand for. I can be a loving, nurturing person, and sometimes there's shadowy people in the world that are just looking for a loving, nurturing person to manipulate. Oh, but you're really loving and nurturing, and you put a lot of work and effort to make things stable or grounded or be successful and victorious. How about you keep putting in that work and effort with me? And it's like, I did. And then you, though, weren't. You seem to think that maybe once we got in it, that you could kind of go back to just indulging yourself in it or being more about yourself or being more immature or competitive or defensive, thinking I would keep putting in the work and effort to keep making it work. Well, both people have to want to put in work. And some people are like, but I don't want to do that. That's not my idea of the dream life or dream relationship. It's like, I've seen that. And I wish you peace to go find someone who is more on that same page as you, because I have been illuminated to the truth that it wasn't me. And I have tempered my ego about it. I can offer people love and encouragement, but until they decide to grow up or heal or mature themselves and put in more work and effort, I can only do so much. And for some people, it's like, no. Anyway, so some people are moving on. And they're wishing those people peace. I can still be a loving and encouraging person in your life, but not to the same way of relationship we had before. And sometimes it is parent with children. And this has kind of come up a lot lately in the readings, where, it can be where a parent kind of wants to keep repeating a pattern. I could have been loving and encouraging to you, but now I don't like you going on your own and spreading your own wings and being more independent. I still want to control you. And the children are like, Mom, Dad, we were at that phase of life, and I'm an adult now. And then it can go the opposite way, where the children want the parent to keep repeating that pattern, even though they're an adult, and they don't want to spread their wings and fly. And oh, by the way, I want to revert to being like a 15-year-old, and you do all the cooking and the cleaning and the washing and the buying the groceries and paying for everything. It's like, you're an adult. Go learn some lessons in life. And if you are kind of full of yourself, you need to go have some more experiences in the world to find out that doesn't work. And apparently you didn't learn that with me, and I could have struggled with you most of my life to get you to see the truth of that. And it never worked. So go out in the world and you're going to have to learn some lessons the hard way, just like the rest of us did, to get over yourself, or go manipulate someone else. If you still think that's what's just and fair, go manipulate someone else. And then I think as the high vibe people are doing that, there's other people who see and could be inspired by the fact that you are standing up for yourself, whoever you are, standing up to people in your life who were basically not working with you cooperatively in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. And they're happy that you're doing it. Your own high vibe, inner child nature, and your more high vibe nature is happy that you have been illuminated to the truth. And then there's other people in the world who are happy. You kind of saw through the illusion and the manipulation to stand up for yourself. And then there's other people in the world that have gone through similar situations, and they're loving and encouraging to you. You, in turn, are loving and encouraging to people. But it's to encourage people to see the truth. If you want to keep staying in denial of the truth, I wish you peace. If that's what you want to keep defending, or ways of being, or people in your life, that is your free will choice. That's just not my choice, and I might focus my time, energy, and effort onto people who I think are more on the same page as me. So, what's coming up for people who are harnessing some more high vibrational Libra energy that they might not see coming up? The Star card. Why? Because of the Four of Pentacles. In our free will, we can choose this or we can choose that. At one time, there was something we could have viewed as being like a dream come true, and certain ways of living life and viewing life that we were motivated and inspired by, and things we thought were just and fair. But because you kind of put a lot of work and effort to try to make those things work, and you still felt stuck, it kind of could have made you pause from continuing to move forward in it, because before the Nine of Wands is the Eight of Wands, where you're kind of moving forward in something, and then it's like, wait a minute. Kind of like, now why are we doing this? Why am I doing it? Why are these other people doing it? What is it that really drives and motivates people? You know, and sometimes we can be moving forward with people, and other people really want to move forward with us, but then it can be like, wait a minute. Especially if it seems like you're tempering yourself, but other people seem to have a problem tempering themselves. And it's like, why are we moving forward in this? What is your long-term goal? Is it more the ego, the image, the codependency, not wanting to go somewhere else? So thinking, if we both feel stuck in it, let's both be defensive and argue and fight and hide from the truth and stay in it just because it looks good. I don't want to do that. That's not my idea of how I want to move forward. And if you have inner conflict about being loving or just or fair or growing up or acting with more character and integrity, I don't want to keep moving forward with this either. The truth is, I want to be happy. Do you want to be happy? And some of those people will start, if you think they're willing to put in the work and effort, or if some people in your life that you could have distanced yourself from at one point in time have kind of grown uphill to matured themselves, then we'd be willing to work together with them again. But we are willing to hold back from people in our life when our intuition is telling us the reason why they might want to stay in it or get in it, or is kind of for the wrong reasons. They could be being selfish, and you're trying to move something forward. You know, we all kind of have our foundational way of being. And if we have the two Four of Pentacles, then we have the Eight of Pentacles. And if we both maintain balance within ourselves in the Two of Pentacles, I accept you have your truth, I have my truth. If we're both motivated and inspired by love, let's work cooperatively together to bring that dream into reality. But if one person is like, no, I don't want to move forward in life differently, I don't want to open up, I am kind of more about myself, or ungiving, or more about ego or image or me, well, then we see the truth. My dream can't come into reality if other people aren't motivated and inspired by truth and love. And can there be love there, but they still have this certain way of viewing relationships where is kind of a little bit more about them being indulged and you being maybe more codependent. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not my dream. And so from the Ten of Pentacles down to the Four of Pentacles, letting go of the Six of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy, there was people in my life that at one time I exchanged time, energy, effort, and resources with. But I kind of saw the truth that they were more inspired maybe by themselves or ego than having hope and faith and belief and love. And so I quit exchanging resources with those people. And, that's when you kind of see that, sometimes people aren't working with us cooperatively and people are being competitive and people are acting kind of in these stubborn ways of being because they really don't want to move forward in it because it's not their truth, but they might not want to say that. And so it's trying to get the other people to leave because they could feel overwhelmed. Again, it's kind of like being in a job that you're not qualified for. It requires more work and effort than some people want to put work and effort into, or, and you have to be motivated and inspired to even want to put in work and effort. And some people don't. I just thought I thought you could do all the work. And I thought, in a way, it's kind of like, I'm the child too. That's where it's kind of can be mutually codependent, but yet they want to be the boss. They want you to put in work and effort to make it loving and inspiring, but then, and they kind of want to be indulged in that way like a child. They might put more work and effort more into status or things like that, but it's like, are we both motivated by love or are we not? Are you kind of more indulging yourself in the relationship? Are you kind of more immature? Do you have inner conflict about love? Being more authentic? I want a deep, meaningful relationship, and a relationship should grow and mature over time. And as we complete one phase of life, then it's time to see what needs to go, what can stay, and we move forward to the next phase of life. And that can be when some people are like, I never planned to do that. I thought we were going to keep doing it like this forever. But that can be like stagnant, stale ways of being. But some people, they don't want to look at the things within themselves that they could maybe benefit from letting go of. But they don't even want to maybe look at those things to even see what they should keep and what they should let go of. I just want to keep doing it like this. It's like, well, I don't want to keep doing it like this. If a relationship isn't going to grow to its full potential where you're more authentic and loving, letting your more inner child nature out to play, if you want to keep operating more from your defensive egoic nature, which is like shadowy King of Swords, and I view the King of Swords as Libra energy, versus getting more balanced within yourself to be more hopeful and believing and trusting of other people, then you're going to have to go repeat that pattern with someone else. And some of those people are currently, repeating the pattern with someone else. Again, hiding. I don't really want to do love, but I want to move forward in a relationship. It's good for my ego and my image and all the perks and benefits of being in a relationship, but I have inner conflict about love. And the next people they get in a relationship can indulge them for quite a while, but then they want the relationship, for the dream to really come into reality. People kind of create the illusion, oh, you should get in a relationship with me, like your dream will come into reality. But then they're really not willing to do it. Or if they do move forward with it, by that time people maybe have seen the truth that it really is more about repeating this old pattern. We don't ever really move forward and give birth to anything new that's ours. It's like, well, no, it has the status or it has the image, and that's good. We should be happy. It's like, and then they'll have other people that get enlightened to the truth. I feel like I would be stuck here. I think you're not as independent. I think you're more codependent on the world and maybe how people view you, or make your status and image more important, or that's why you even want to be in a relationship. And it's not really love. And so I think because that, when you hold back from investing in your more shadowy nature and investing in people who are more aligned with their shadowy nature, and you take the lessons that you've learned to move forward in life, quit juggling it, quit going back and forth about it, that's when your dreams can come into reality, because you have completed a cycle and you are ready to have a new beginning. Now, going through that phase can take a long time for some people, because it's hard to let go of that old dream, but you don't want to really get in a new relationship till I have worked through it, so that when after seeing everything and all the different actions everybody has taken, they have, I've become more and more illuminated to the truth that my truth isn't their truth. And you have, from the 1 to the 10 in the 9 of Pentacles, become independent of a past situation. And now you could be working on a new situation that is something you could have your dreams come into reality. And some of the people in your life are really happy that you're working with them, because they do appreciate that you are more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving and nurturing and encouraging and supportive. And some other people could have liked it, could have appreciated it, but they weren't willing to do what they needed to do to keep working together with you more cooperatively. And the new people in your life are. So you're working with people who harness these energies in a more high vibrational way. Okay, what's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people that they might not see coming? The Six of Swords. Got a lot of a kind of Aquarius energy in this reading. And Virgo, and the reason is because of the Ten of Pentacles. So, when people are kind of more defensive and they have some inner conflict about love, or really walking the talk, being willing to be a student of life, to be more authentic and invest in love, they're going to have other people in their life that are going to move away from them. Just because other people complete a phase of life. I used to live my life like that. I used to view life like that, and then, I did kind of get more inspired to look at life in a high vibe Aquarius from a higher perspective. I got less being about me, less about these things of the world, less about the ego and the image. At what point is enough with like the Ten of Pentacles? And in high vibe, the Ten of Pentacles is a balance. Do I have some of the stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life that I would like? And I also have loving and encouraging and supportive people in my life. Oh my God, what more could I ask for? People who are authentic, people who are inspiring, people who are loving and encouraging of me, and people that I in turn love and that I can be my more authentic self with. That's what's truly a dream come true and true abundance. But other people are like, I just don't believe that. I kind of think if I invest in these other things, either it being more about me, then I think I'd be happy if it was just more about me. Or if I had more status and image and power, or I was able to indulge more in some of these things I like to indulge in when I feel defensive or have inner conflict, or more attention, or more money, or, all those things, you can easily see where drugs or alcohol or gambling or indulging in relationships, maybe for attention, it's like a short-term fix, but it can become like an addiction. The shadow nature represented by the devil at the big picture. And some people are like, no, 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 no. Enough is never enough. And for some of them, they haven't learned to love themselves. So even if they get loving people in their life, it's like, well, okay, that's great. And you love me and they love me and whoever. But I need those people to love me. Why don't those people love me? Why don't those people value me? And there could be certain people, just the way they view people in the world, and they kind of want to be part of that clique, you know? And it's like, I need those people. If those people viewed me a certain way and wanted to be in a relationship with me, then I would really look like a shining star in the world. And they're so clouded, maybe by their ego, or they're still in their ego about people in their life that they could have grown up with that had certain traits and characteristics. And they are still in their ego about it, determined to get someone who has some of those certain traits, characteristics, to choose them and love them. And they keep rejecting the loving people because, no, I need to get someone who's immature or bossy or controlling or egotistical or think they're all that. I need to get in a relationship with that person because then if I could make them love me, then I'd be set free. Well, they can do that within themselves. They can figure out, why is it so important that I get somebody who has a certain way of being. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, my parent was an alcoholic. Boy, I'm going to get me in a relationship with an alcoholic and I'm going to make them choose love and love me. I couldn't be like in a marriage or relationship with my parent, but with this person I can, and I will try to get them to change. And then, it's like to get them out of their ego. And some people don't realize that some of these issues from their ego, where people were defensive to them, didn't work cooperatively with them, but they're kind of unwilling to see the truth because they're still kind of drawn and attracted to people like that, because they could have inner conflict about some of these people in their life that they did look up to and admire when they were young. And the truth sets us free. Can we admit that some people were bossy, controlling, prideful, manipulative, immature? For people who are unwilling to admit it, but it affects how they interact in relationships, it's going to keep them stuck until they're willing to deal with the truth, or how it made them defensive to loving and believing in themselves. But again, if they love those people, it's really hard to admit that, or it just made them very codependent. One or the other. Until they see the truth, they're going to keep repeating this pattern. More high vibrational people are going to do a phase of life with them. They're going to want it to move forward. They never want to move forward. They have this way of being and living life that in their mind is the dream life. And other people kind of get tired of it. Are we going to keep doing this like forever? Are we never going to do anything different? Or am I never really able to pursue my dreams or interests? Is it always more about you? And eventually people get sick of it and they move on. And eventually they'll probably end up in a relationship with someone who's more like them. Whatever it is that their truth is, that I guess kind of more about the world, because shadowy Virgo and shadowy Aquarius and shadowy Libra Taurus, it is more about these things of the world, looking like you're living the dream. And if that's indulging in certain things to excess, look what a great life we have and how much fun we have. Or look at the status or the ego or the money that we have. Or look, I have someone who indulges me, or I'm willing to indulge someone for those things. Because what's most important to them is to maybe have a certain status or image in the world, and love isn't what's most important. And even if they could feel stuck in a relationship, could feel defensive in the relationship, there could be fighting, competitiveness. So long as it looks good by worldly standards, they might be willing to stay in it because, or for some people could really have a lot of fear of their own stability and security. And so then they might stay in it for that. And they could think that that will be what, I don't know. I just think eventually you can have all these things in the world and it's like a resounding gong. You feel stuck because it's not really inspired by love. And it looks like what other people have, and the other people might have less, but they put work and effort into enjoying their life and they have more than enough. Other people can have more than enough and there still is not enough. Love and working together, having people who want to be in a relationship with you because of truth and love, and it inspires you to love and believe in yourself and kind of taps into your more creative, inspired nature. That's the foundation that you could manifest your dreams from. And some people only work more with things of the world and from their mind, and they don't appreciate aligning with their more hopeful, believing, loving, creative nature, which is the spark of life that they were given to manifest their dreams into reality. But they maybe just didn't value it and thought, I don't need to really work with my more emotionally intuitive, creative nature. I should work with these things of the world. I should work with people who have these things of the world. That's the way to get these things that I want. And I think eventually they're going to feel stuck. Because, again, they can have everything that looks good, but is it? Or is it all about the world and the ego and the image or the money or the indulgence or them? So there you go. I guess it'd just be that some people didn't grow to their full potential, maybe. So there you go. I wish you peace, love, and joy, Libra. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.